On May 21, 2026, the White House had a signing ceremony ready for America's first AI oversight law. By morning, the ceremony was canceled. 3 overnight calls had pulled Trump back before the pen touched anything. Musk, Zuckerberg, and White House AI czar David Sacks, all 3 called Trump between Wednesday night and Thursday morning. Why those 3 names? Why that one night? And what it says about who's running American AI policy. The order Trump almost signed didn't prohibit a thing. It just asked companies to let the government look first. 90 days before any powerful AI model went public, the lab would hand federal reviewers an early, unfiltered copy. The agency tapped to run those scans, not the Pentagon or defense officials, the Treasury, which regulates banks. That handoff was entirely voluntary. Labs could refuse outright, with zero enforcement power behind the ask. A 90-day preview window, no power to block a release, no fine for declining. The calls came anyway. 3 calls came in overnight, but one of them didn't come from any tech company. It came from inside the administration. Musk was first on the line. His XAI lab competes directly with the same frontier AI companies this oversight order was written to monitor. Zuckerberg followed. Meta's AI division builds frontier models of its own, placing it squarely inside the EO's scope. David Sacks, Trump's AI czar, reached the president directly, cutting out the White House staffers who had spent weeks drafting the order. All 3 had spoken by dawn, and the czar had one argument ready that Trump would end up repeating almost verbatim. Sacks's argument cut past the current text of the policy straight to the question of who controls it after the next election. Labs that comply once build the entire submission pipeline, secure access channels, review protocols, a paper trail no future president needs to rebuild from scratch. Sacks called it a de facto licensing regime, voluntary in name, real in structure, and a single memorandum away from permanent. Trump absorbed the argument, and by morning had added his own reason, one that reframed the whole thing as a competition he said he couldn't afford to lose. Trump's press statement skipped the calls. His reason to reporters was about a lead he said America couldn't lose. The quote that came out didn't touch any of those private concerns. It was about a race, pure and simple. Every concern about future control over AI labs got boiled down to one message: a sprint nobody should slow. That pivot did one thing more. It recast 3 executive calls as a national security decision, not lobbying. 3 calls had settled a question tens of millions of Americans had opinions on. Nobody consulted them. The race against China argument skipped what polling showed, both safety testing and threat blocking backed by over 3/4 of Republicans. Over 60 conservative leaders had already signed an open letter demanding the same oversight. Steve Bannon's name on the list. That's 79%, 87%, and 60-plus MAGA leaders, a clear majority of Trump's own political base, all aligned on oversight. 3 calls outweighed all of them, but the reason 3 people carry that much leverage against millions is the next question. 3 people just flipped a policy 79% of Republicans backed. That scale of imbalance has a structure. Every poll, every letter, every signed name had to travel through staffers and press offices before reaching the person with the pen. Musk and Zuckerberg had no such path. A direct call bypasses every intermediary between a CEO and a president. In a system where one signature decides policy, 3 direct connections outweigh millions of filtered messages every time. 2 of those 3 names spent years publicly calling for AI safety guardrails. What they pushed Wednesday night ran opposite to all of it. Both men built their brands, warning that powerful AI needs watching, then made sure no one would watch theirs. The XAI founder sued OpenAI in 2024 for abandoning its safety mission. His whole case argued, advanced AI can't go unwatched. Meta's CEO testified before Congress, calling for frontier AI guardrails, the same oversight Wednesday's order was designed to create. The government built exactly what both had demanded, a look before the model ship, and both called to kill it. That's one door closed, but the phone calls landed on top of a second door that went shut months before. Two doors, both shut, but they didn't close at the same moment. It took two separate actions, 4 months apart, to seal them both. On December 11, 2025, a separate directive nullified state-level AI regulations. California's SB 1047 and dozens of similar bills. Gone. That move handed AI oversight to Washington, on the assumption Washington would pick it up. It didn't. The U.S. now runs the world's most powerful AI sector with zero oversight mechanisms left, and what fills that gap is the next question. 4 threads will show whether oversight returns, a Sachs revised draft, Anthropic's next public stance, a Senate hearing, and Trump's signature. Anthropic backed the framework, and now has no mechanism, only a choice. Lead the next push, or wait for Congress. Send this to anyone who insisted tech billionaires don't control US AI decisions. 3 calls just prove them wrong. Subscribe to Marker and Mind. We explain the story behind the headline.